award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. Thank you for tuning in. Glad you're out there listening. Glad you're watching. We are excited about today's show. Once again, we are in Morristown, Tennessee at the Region 4 office. And as you can see behind me, the beautiful general store, Holston General Store that Mr. Matt Cameron and Dan Gibbs and many others put some hard labor into. And appreciate Matt being here with us to help co-host.
Thank you for coming back.
Yeah, thanks for putting the show together and coming up with some ideas. And excited to talk about non-game and endangered species today.
Yeah, switching gears a little bit.
Yeah. Got Mr. Chris Ogle with us. So he's
glad to be here.
Not sure what his official title is. We went through quite a few here this afternoon. Wildlife manager, and he works with non-game and endangered species. So tell us a little about yourself, Chris. Have you always lived and grown up in East Tennessee?
I have, yes. Lived in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Can trace my lineage back to the original settlers of Gatlinburg. They were Ogles.
Okay,
so,
awesome.
So yeah, been here. Family's been here for a long time.
Very well-off, wealthy Ogles.
There's a rich side and a poor side, and I'm from the poor side. That's all I can say.
That's interesting. I didn't know that little tidbit. So what about Ogles Water Park? Was that your family?
That's him.
Distant cousins, I'm sure. I really don't know.
I can remember that growing up, being up there in Pigeon Forge. And anyway.
Yeah, before Splash Country
Yeah.
came in.
Yeah.
That was the place to go cool off
And
in the summertime.
Did the Partons and the Ogles have a feud? Is that?
No, not really. No,
Okay,
I've got
good.
Parton in my blood too. So just like everybody else in Sevier County, I'm somewhat related to Dolly.
To Dolly?
So,
Okay.
Everybody
All right.
claims that over there, don't they?
Hey, maybe we'll get Dolly on the show sometime.
Oh, my gosh. Now you're aiming for the stars, right? Why not?
She might come on.
Hey, but all seriousness, Chris has how many daughters?
Four daughters.
Little
Yeah.
girls.
Wow, you got your
8,
work cut out for you.
6, 4, and 2. Yeah. I try to work all the time. So
Yeah.
He's a busy man. Building a house.
building a house right now. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Trying to do as much of it ourselves as we can. So
Awesome.
a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think it's that's the way to do it. A lot of people did that growing up. I think my house went up with a house raising kind of thing.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, well, appreciate you being here. We're going to talk about non-game and endangered species and things like that today. The first thing I got on my list here is, Sportsman's Dollars goes into a lot of things we do around here. And even when a sportsman buys a license and that money goes to helping improve a WMA for big game hunting, it also helps improve some of the small game stuff. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, species that we don't think about, that a lot of people don't even know exist. We have here in Tennessee. We do get federal funds to work with these animals, but the habitat that we put on the ground for bear, deer, turkey, what have you, works for those species as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So it all helps each other. So
When we talking about when we say non-game, can you explain what that means? A lot of people have no clue even what game means for that.
Yeah, so a game species is something we hunt, so a non-game species is something we don't hunt. So I work a lot with reptiles and amphibians and bats and small mammals and such. We also work with birds as well. So.
awesome.
I did the math one time, and out of 1,600 species of wildlife that Tennessee has, probably 100 or less are actually game species. So by and large, the wildlife that TWRA manages is non-game animals. Mm-hmm. And I think that is fantastic. As a hunter and an active consumer of wildlife, I think it's awesome that this agency manages the creepy crawly things, turtles, snakes, frogs, songbirds, all that other stuff too, because I enjoy that stuff when I am out pursuing fish and game.
Yeah, even the insects. And we don't manage insects, but they benefit from all kinds of stuff that we're planting out there.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, all right, let's move on and talk about one of the first things got on my list is bats. So we're seeing a lot of, you see bats flying around this time of year, and they're out and about, and you've been getting some phone calls about that.
I have, yeah. So we work with bats out in the field, surveying and monitoring for those species, but we also take a lot of phone calls from the public about bats. It's always every summer there's a bat in my attic. I've got a bat on my house. What do I do? those kind of things. And so, in a given week, typically over summer, I'll probably field 5 or 6 calls that have to do with bats.
Bats are a good thing. What are they calling for, right?
They are a good thing, but they can be I guess they can be a nuisance to some species when they get in their house. So they call us wondering what they can do. You want me to go into that?
Sure.
So one of the first things we talk about is there's a moratorium on removing bats or excluding bats from May 1 to August 1. That's because that's the time they have their pups. They're having their young, and we don't want to mess with that whole cycle. And so if there is dire human health needs, we do allow that to happen. But typically, I try to talk people into waiting till after August 1 to take care of it. For the most part, people can take care of it themselves. Typically, those bats, we associate bats with caves, and so we've got 16 species of bats in the state. About half of those hibernate in caves. Out of those, only 2 species spend a whole year in caves, and so most of them will go to somebody's house or a tree or something like that over the summer. And so if I can get those people to wait, typically sometime between August and as far out as October, those bats will leave those houses, and then over winter, those people can take it upon themselves to fix whatever hole it is that those bats are going in and out of. If you don't want to go that route, you can contact a professional. We have a list of permitted wildlife damage control specialists that can come out and do that for you if you don't want to go that route. The one time I do highly recommend using a professional is if you have to clean up a lot of guano. If guano is built up in an attic, I really wouldn't personally want to do that myself, and so that's one place where I do at least recommend you get a professional to come clean up that guano.
Can you define guano?
So guano
I didn't
is
want to be the guy to ask that question.
so guano is bat feces.
Okay, I'm not the only one that didn't know that.
Well, I knew. I just want to hear him say it.
Don't be feeling now.
For the record, is it species or species?
I don't hear a
personal
difference.
preference.
I don't hear a difference.
Species.
Yeah, I don't hear.
You don't hear
One's
that.
male, one's female.
Because you hear it said different ways
Yeah.
amongst.
How did I say it?
Species.
Well, that's how you're supposed to
So
say
those
it.
are females.
That's how you're supposed to say it.
Now I'm from East Tennessee, so I mispronounce things all the time.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that's
me too.
Yeah, me too. It's good to be home. So you can build bat boxes, right?
Yeah, you can build bat boxes.
Invite bats.
Yeah, and invite bats to your property. They're really beneficial to us. We tend to demonize bats in our culture, and they're really not that bad. They provide us. They eat thousands of insects every night, so they provide us with pest control. They also provide farmers with crop pest control. And there's been studies done by USGS and some other entities that say bats save farmers billions of dollars every year in crop pest control.
Wow.
So,
I believe that. As many insects as they can consume in one night per bat. We were looking at it earlier. It's safely say thousands.
Yeah,
There's a difference in what you look at, but we're talking mosquitoes, right?
they can, yeah. they
Human
can.
insects, those things that bother us, and then
Yep.
as well as crop pests that could be damaging to farmers' crops. So
Yeah, all sorts, yeah.
I think that is awesome. That cuts down on the use of insecticides, chemicals that people don't want on their food, and I get that. I don't want to eat chemicals unless I have to, so I'm all for it. So let's promote the bat populations. People are afraid of them. You talk about demonizing them.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about rabies. I'm going to get rabies. The bat's going to bite me. Can you talk about the rabies issue in bats?
We can. I'm not a human health specialist, but we can talk a little bit about it. The best number that we can that I've seen come up with is less than 0.5% of bats carry rabies. And so, in order to contract that, a bat has to bite you, and their saliva has to enter your bloodstream. The health department is greatly worried about that because they say that you can be bit by a bat and not feel it, or you could be bitten by a bat at night while you're sleeping, or those kind of things. I've been bit by most of our bats, and I felt it. But it is. If you come into contact, you should contact if you come into contact with a bat, you should contact your local health department and seek further information on that. But that is a big concern. But it is rare. It is rare for that to happen. So.
Gotcha. I appreciate you talking about the bite and the saliva transfer there, because a lot of people think if you go in a cave and there are bats in there, just by breathing the air that you're going to.
Yeah, no,
no.
no.
A myth.
Now, there's some other respiratory issues that you might have from breathing large amounts of guano, but we're talking huge piles is what it takes to get those kind of respiratory issues. So.
Gotcha.
Cool. Hey, speaking of the bat boxes, and you said on our website there's a spot on there for the removal, folks that can help remove. What do you call them?
Wildlife damage control
Yes, damage
specialists.
control. it's under law enforcement, and then the bat box is also on our website. Just go up there and search it. You can find all that on tmwildlife.org.
Yeah.
So,
one of the big questions I get about bat boxes, so does one box equal one bat? And no, a lot of them, depending on sizes, they could hold up to hundreds of bats. They cram in there pretty good.
wow,
Yeah.
in one little box. That's
Yeah, in
cool.
one little box, yeah. And so, and I've gotten this question too, is the bottom of the box is open, so when bats lay eggs, do the eggs fall out? And I hope we all know that bats are mammals and they don't lay eggs, so they have live young. But yeah, so if you're concerned about that, don't be concerned about that.
You about got me there. Listen to the professional here. And then one other thing, is there a direction that box should be facing?
Yeah, there is, typically south-southeast. They like to get morning sun. And I don't know if that's information on our website or not, but you could look at, you want me to tell another website?
Sure,
on
yeah.
there? BCI.org or batcon.org is Bat Conservation International. Cool. If we don't have that information on which way to face it, what color to paint it, based on where you live in the United States, they have that on there as well. They've got some good resources. But we may have it on our website. I'm just not for sure.
Yeah,
yeah.
Good deal. Good
Great
information.
stuff.
Yep. Well, what about snakes? Snakes is a big topic this time of year.
Snakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing, they're protected here in Tennessee, right?
They are, yeah. They are protected, so it is illegal to kill them.
And they're great rodent control as well, or help you out around your
about
property.
pest control.
Yeah, pest control.
Yes, yeah. So they provide a lot of pest control for you as a person as well. Eat lots of mice and rats and all kinds of stuff like that.
Great
so.
to keep around in the basement or the garage, right?
Yeah.
People turn them loose in their homes for that reason.
Yeah, there are, yeah. And just I always tell people, just because you see a small snake less than 12 inches or less than 16 inches doesn't mean it's a baby. We have full-grown snakes that get that they just get to that size, and so those guys eat insects as well. So you want to talk about a little insect control there from snakes as well too.
Awesome.
How many snake species do we have in Tennessee?
So I've seen different numbers, but as far as I know, there's 34 different snakes in the state. Yeah.
And how many are poisonous?
That's a leading question there. So so we have zero. It's a trick question. We have zero poisonous snakes. Poison is ingested, so like I drink it, or I read last week, I think it is, if it's absorbed, it's poison as well. If it absorbs through your skin. But if it's injected, like with a needle or with fangs, then it's venom. So we have 4 venomous snakes in the state. 2 out in West Tennessee, the pygmy rattlesnake and the cottonmouth, and then over here in East Tennessee we have throughout the state we had the copperhead and the timber rattlesnake.
Yeah.
And those are the only 2 we have in East Tennessee.
Gotcha.
So.
Cool.
They're
Good
protected
information.
as well.
Yes, they are
Yeah,
protected
yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Yep. They're all protected.
So people are fearful of every snake, venomous or non-venomous, when actually a rat snake is a good snake to have around. A king snake is a good snake to have around. If you're afraid of venomous snakes, the king snakes eat venomous snakes.
They do, yeah. So, people say black snake, and there's actually 3 different species of black snake when people talk about black snake. The rat snake and the racer are black, and they eat your mice and your rats. And then you've got your king snake that eat other snakes. And they'll sometimes have a yellowish pattern on them, or sometimes they won't have that if they get too old. If they get older, you won't see that yellowish pattern on them.
Okay.
But they'll be black as well. So, yeah.
What's some of the issues you hear about snakes? I had that as a note there.
Yeah, so I guess what I was thinking of was we're part of a study right now with Middle Tennessee State University. There's a fungus that's affecting some of our snake species called we simply called snake fungal disease, but if you want the genus and species, it's Ophidiomyces ophidiocola, and it's a fungus that it's really not that big of an issue unless they get it on their mouth, and then when they get rid of the fungus, then they have a scar on their mouth and it's hard for them to eat, and so it's a newer pathogen that we're just now learning about. It's been out there for several years, but it's one of those that we're studying a lot right now with Middle Tennessee State University, trying to get a grip on where it's at with this in the state. We're not seeing drastic snake declines, but there are some species of rattlesnake up north that they're seeing declines in. But we haven't noticed any here, but it could just be that we haven't looked enough either. But then I guess we every summer we get a lot of bat calls. We always get requests for snake stories in papers and those kind of things. What we've been talking about, venomous versus poisonous. What venomous snakes do we have?
Right.
And then I always work with I do a lot of work with scout troops as well, and we always go over first aid with them. And in hunter education, we go over first aid, what to do with a snake bite and those kind of things.
Well, what do we do?
There's only isn't there only so much antivenom for some of these?
There is, yeah. It's interesting. I listened to a colleague of ours that he's worked with rattlesnakes for 20 plus years and got bit a couple years ago and went through the whole process, and it was kind of neat to listen to him talk about everything that goes on with that. There's the anti-venom that we have available to us here is called Crofab, is the generic, or not the brand name of it, and they make it using diamondback, eastern and western diamondback rattlesnakes, and a couple other snakes. And one of the snakes they don't use is a timber rattlesnake that we have here. So it can be effective against a timber rattlesnake, but it's not as effective as if it's a diamondback rattlesnake bite. And then the other thing I learned through that is with a copperhead and cottonmouth, if you get bitten, you can actually identify the snake. You don't need to capture the snake to try to take it in. It's only one antivenom that they're going to use. 3
more times while you're trying to catch
it. Get bit 3 more times. But if you can readily identify it or take a picture and it's a cottonmouth or a copperhead, sometimes they won't even give you that antivenom. They'll just pump you full of Benadryl because your reaction to the Crofab may be worse than your reaction to the bite. It all depends. It's all I don't know, just all you got to look at the totality of the circumstances, as they say in law enforcement.
Word. So, I remember that from the academy days. So snakes are protected. We get it. You've got a cottonmouth in your yard, in your garage, too close to the house. You want to do the right thing and have it removed. Who do you call to come get that snake?
Well, you can call. I'm going to say you can call us, but we're not going to come get that. What we'll give you is some numbers of people, of wildlife damage control specialists that can come out and remove
licensed and trained to deal with these things.
Licensed and trained to deal with those.
So
yes,
and they injure yourself by trying to remove it yourself or taking something out there and killing it.
Correct.
You're doing the right thing and calling.
Yeah.
A professional.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
And most of the time those professionals have worked it out with the agency to have a pre-release site for different animals that they capture. So they'll take it to a WMA or something like that, where not to the next neighbor over or anything like that.
Run down the road and drop it out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to green salamanders. Those are pretty cool creatures, and y'all are doing quite a bit of work with those guys as well.
Yeah, we are. They're a cool creature. Like I said, they're rare, elusive. They're hard to see. They specialize in living on rock outcrops and rock crevices, and so they have a little bit of green to them with a black background, so it looks like moss is growing on them, much like moss growing on a rock. So they can be hard to find, and they sometimes are deep in those crevices. So yeah, we're working on a multi-state study right now. We're kind of wrapping it up. I can't remember if this year or next year is the last year of it, but we're doing a lot of studies looking at population dynamics, stuff we don't understand about it, genetic structure. Do we have different species in the state? There's that word again.
Yeah.
Male or female?
Yeah. And then also looking at disease associated with them. Seems like a lot of things we work with have diseases. With snake fungal disease, bats have white nose syndrome. Salamanders can have chytrid fungus and ranavirus or those kind of things. So there's always something, it seems like, we as humans have introduced that are hurting the native populations that we have. But yeah, we're doing quite a big study on those. We're finding them more common than what we thought they were, but there's still a lot we don't know. But we're getting a lot of good information from this study and looking a lot at population dynamics and what do they do? Is it a meta population that lives on this rock outcrop, and there's a different one on this rock outcrop, and we're figuring a lot of things out, a lot of cool things with them.
That's cool. That's neat. I had another question and it slipped me there. Oh, salamanders! I'm gonna put you on the spot. How many salamanders do we have in Tennessee?
65 different species of salamanders is the latest I've heard.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Always hoping to find that new world record, the next one that enters the state. But right now, 65
something
as far
new,
as I know.
something I hadn't discovered or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's a bunch.
The Hellbender's really cool. We got that in Tennessee.
It's a big one.
And there's some videos out on our website about those just recently. Barry put together. But anyway, Salamanders are pretty neat creatures.
They are. They're really neat. We've got several different families in the state. Green salamanders are part of the Plethodon family, which are the family of lungless salamanders. So they don't have lungs. They breathe through their skin. So they're good environmental indicators of how well that habitat is there, how well the environment is. Are there pollutants there? Because they're breathing it through their skin. And same thing with their closer related. I don't know if you call them cousins or not. There's probably some geneticist that's going to call me out for saying that. But the Desmognathus is a genus that's in the Plethodon family, and typically they're found in streams. They're shaking their head.
What did he say?
Foreign language.
Yeah, we're speaking a different language here, but but they're found in streams and they breathe through their skin as well, and so they're good indicators of how well the stream is doing. So, pretty cool species.
Yeah. Man, he's going to lose me before this show's over with. All right. BioBlitz. BioBlitz sounds like a song I've heard. Something, I don't know.
Or
anyway,
a band.
Yeah. So tell folks what a BioBlitz is and why we do them.
Yeah, so BioBlitz is a short-term intensive effort to sample as many species of wildlife in a given area that we can. We focus on terrestrial vertebrates, so vertebrates have backbones, and terrestrial, they live on land. And of course, you've got the amphibious creatures that we work with, and we've got fisheries crew that work with fish, but for me, it's terrestrial vertebrates for the most part. So we go into an area, like the one we just did was with the U.S. Forest Service up around Ripshin Ridge in Carter County, and typically we do these in areas that we haven't sampled a lot, or we can't get to a lot. Like that one is a 3-hour drive from my house. So, I go up there and I camp, and we set out as many traps as we can, whether it's small mammals, bat mist netting, traps for snakes and other reptiles and amphibians and those kind of things. And we try to document as many animals in that little area as we can in a short period of time. And we take a lot of, like I took about, I think 20 people with me up there, in addition to whoever the Forest Service had. But just working with me, I had about 20, and they were graduate students from all over, or students from a couple different schools. Some of our technicians or our interns for the summer. Am I allowed to say interns? Sure. Volunteers for the summer. Yeah. And we take volunteers with us. I think we were talking about that earlier about how we, I tell you, I utilize over 1,500 hours of volunteer time every year. And so if you're, I can't remember if it's 12 or 13 is the age, but if you want to volunteer with us, you come to one of our regional offices and say, hey, I'd like to volunteer with that crazy non-game guy, and they'll put you in contact with me.
That famous guy, he's Ogle.
I don't know about that. But we have a lot of fun on the BioBlitzes, and we can document, I don't remember how many species we documented on this last one, but you could document close to 50, 60 different species in a given area if you wanted to, if you caught several. So
some of the video and pictures I've seen, y'all got boards, you're lifting up boards and stuff, hiding underneath and that kind of thing. Is that?
Yeah. So those are, we use
some of the techniques you use.
Yeah, that's one of the techniques we use. So it's cover board array.
Very
it's
technical.
Very technical. Yes.
Yeah.
It's
a sheet of plywood.
It is. It's just a sheet of plywood.
Rotten.
And we scrape back to bare dirt and lay it down, and all that's doing is simulating a rotten log.
Okay.
Because that's one of the best places to find amphibians, salamanders, and those kind of things. And then on the other side of that, we'll use metal tin, which doesn't look as natural, but we place that down, and we get snakes coming underneath those.
It's warm.
Right? Yeah. They're looking for warmth because they're ectothermic. We're endothermic. They're ectothermic. We always hear warm-blooded, cold-blooded. Not necessarily true, but endothermic, ectothermic is the more scientific term of that. So, yeah.
Learn something new every day. This guy's a wealth of knowledge.
Yes.
I don't know about that.
We're got about 4 or 5 minutes here left. Golden Eagles. Y'all done some golden eagle research, but y'all kind of putting a hold on that for a little while.
We are, yeah. We've been doing that for several years, 7 or 8 years, and it was a multi-state study for the eastern United States, and we got a lot of great results from that. If you looked at range maps and different bird guides, the golden eagle wouldn't even come down to Tennessee sometimes in their range, but we figured out through this study they go all the way to Florida, and our golden eagles typically nest in northern Quebec, Canada. We figured out some migration pathways, and we figured out that lead is an issue with them, lead poisoning. Where that comes from, we don't completely understand that yet. But yeah, we have put it on hold. What we were doing was using roadkill deer carcasses, just an easy thing to pick up on the side of the road, and we throw it out and throw a game camera on it, and sure enough, we get golden eagles pretty much anywhere in the state. And with the I don't know how you want to say it, encroachment of chronic wasting disease, that we decided a year or so ago that not to do this anymore, to try to reevaluate our methods, maybe use something different. But we were getting to the point in the study where we were getting diminishing returns. We were doing the same work, but not really getting a whole lot of new information. Again, the study was great. We got a lot of great information.
Right.
But in any study like that, you come to a point where you're not gaining any new information for the same amount of work.
Right.
So we were getting to that point anyway, but with CWD, we kind of cut back on
And
it.
we're not saying that golden eagles can transfer the prions of CWD, but just to be safe,
Yes, correct. To our knowledge, there's no study that's been done on that yet. That the prion, however we say that one.
There's one. Of those.
However we say that word.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm from East Tennessee. We can survive the digestive tract of a golden eagle, but yeah, we didn't want to be blamed for spreading that. Yeah.
Sure.
Err on the side of caution, and we also discussed that there's really not a good substitute carcass to use in place of the deer.
Correct. Yeah. In the past, I've used some cows, cattle that people had that died on people's farms, and they wanted to donate it to us, or elk that have died for whatever reason, and for whatever reason we haven't got the eagles to come to them. I don't know if it's a whole predator prey kind of issue that they don't typically prey on those, but the golden eagles they're opportunistic feeders on carrion or dead animals, and so I'm surprised they didn't come to it. But we've have had issues with them not coming to other bait that we've used.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. Well, that's all I had on the list to talk about today. I don't know if you got anything else you want to cover, but I was thinking about what's that one?
Threatened and endangered species.
Species.
Yeah.
Species.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
But that's anywhere you go when you say threatened or endangered species, you get attention, and that's something that is familiar to each one of us, and it's something that TWRA, I guess, monitors, and we have animals that are state listed and some that are federally listed as well. Can you talk about any of those in particular in our work?
Yeah. So we did a little bit of a study with Carolina northern flying squirrels. They're found above 4,500 feet. They're an endangered species.
They fly high, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not your typical species that's found in like my house in Sevier County, but they're found only above 4,500 feet. So we did a little study with them. We do a lot with gray bats. They're a species of bats that's endangered, and so we do a lot of studies on their summer habitat and their winter habitat, and so we've got all kinds of threatened and endangered species that we work with.
Yeah, and we're always excited to delist some of those too. When we
yes,
can.
we are. Yeah, when we can. Gray bat's one of those species that could possibly be delisted in the future.
That's
I believe it was on the docket before white nose hit, and then when white nose hit, and that may be another session, but
another
that was put on hold, and they're a species that's not highly affected by it, and so that may be a species that we see delisted down the road sometime.
Cool. This guy's a wealth of knowledge. He does great work. The famous Chris Ogle.
I don't know about that.
Well, we appreciate you jumping in here and being a part of the show. Matt, thank you for lining this up.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Keep coming back. This is the place for all the latest in Tennessee outdoor news. Just trying to make it happen right here on Tennessee Wildcast. So thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee Wildcast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.